So this first video, 2D game art tutorial, stylized landscape in 15 minutes by Thomas Brush. I really like Thomas Brush's videos. He does a really good job. It's really informational, really creative. I like the way he presents information. So let's just enjoy this ride.
All right, I'm a big fan of making things quickly and keeping it simple for you guys. So what I've done is just Googled a Studio Ghibli illustration that I really like. And I'm gonna start taking the colors here and create a gradient, okay? This gradient is gonna be used as basically our color palette.
Teach me.
If you have great color, your illustration already looks 10 times better than if you didn't understand color theory.
Agreed.
And tried to do it on your own. So why did I
like this. I like that he does the side panel palette, so it's just right there, ready to be color picked and accessible for his piece. That's really smart. It's probably something I should do. I may pick up a pointer or two here.
create a gradient that looks like this? Because it kind of looks like a horizon, right? Or like if you make video games, it looks like a skybox. Now we can use these colors to inform us of what things are gonna look like as we come towards the camera.
Okay.
I like to start with very solid colors, so we're just gonna start with a solid base of blue here. We're gonna add in that dark.
Makes sense. Start with the sky and then fill in your more detailed elements, because the sky can just generally be blue. I like it.
Dark gradient at the top here, very subtle. And then this light gradient right here at the base. And we're just gonna use some circles to create some clouds. Let's add some clouds behind this as well, using this color here. And these are gonna pour over into the sky.
Just very, very subtly changing the color and then adding more layers to the clouds. It looks really good already. That's awesome. It's so simple too. I mean, he's just done a couple things. Like 2 gradients, a big circle shape for white, and the big circle shape again for like a little bit into the blue of the background behind the white. It's amazing.
Up above, okay? Just like that. We're gonna create some very subtle and simple trees, okay? Now it helps if you start really big actually and do like this. And then
see, I wouldn't have thought that. I wouldn't have thought that you start really large like that. He's just clumping huge groupings of color here. I thought you would have just gone straight in for like, okay, let's make the very accurate like tree line, and then let's start filling in details. So this is new to me. It's a good take. I like it.
And you add the detailing like this.
Okay.
And we're just gonna come forward. Again, we're still doing our trees. We'll worry about our grass in just a second. We're gonna have a beautiful field. Again, very large, just to create some very simple shapes, just to get an idea of the shaping of the tree line.
Yep.
And then go small again to add the details.
Looks good. I gotta say.
All right, that looks good to me. There we go. That's it. I'm just gonna fill it in. Again, we're just using the pencil tool here to create some very simplistic shapes.
Yeah.
Coming forward, same sort of mentality here. Ooh, that looks great. Very, very good. Yep, just like that. And then one more towards the front. This is gonna be our foreground. Okay. Everything needs to look great in the abstract first, guys.
Agreed.
I keep saying that because it's so important. I'm gonna just try and get some cool looking shapes here. All right, one final thing is I think we need...
I like the flow here. I like that there's like a... Oh, geez, I'm gonna be forgetting my like geometrical terms here, but like I believe convex is like outward and concave is like inward, like that. Well, either way, maybe I have them backwards, but I like the convex hill in the background and then the 2 concave at different angles coming up to a meeting line on my right side. That looks really cool. And then the trees and everything. Yeah, I mean, it already looks good.
Some very subtle trees right about here. And I'm gonna blend that by just filling in this green here and then dropping its opacity down just about like that.
Okay.
And I think
that's a nice touch. I like that. So you can start with whatever color or like a darker color, and then to find that middle, you could just change opacity. I like that.
I think that is the final layer that we need. We're gonna go in and start adding detailing with brushes, okay? My custom brushes are below, totally free. Go ahead and download those brushes if you haven't, but I'm gonna go ahead and use my grass block-in brush.
Well, that's just cheating a little bit, isn't it? It's literally called grass. It's designed for this layer of grass. No, I mean, it's probably going to look really good. Let's see.
This is basically a magic brush. Click, 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 click. And you'll notice that it's creating some very subtle changes in the color.
That actually looks amazing. It looks like grass. It is cheating. It is cheating.
Coloring here. Grab this color. We're going to go smaller here.
That looks
a little
so
bit smaller
good.
than that. There we go.
And it's just a brush. The brush is just lining everything up to look amazing. Like from the get-go. Man, I've been doing it all wrong. That's so
We're going to use our fluff block-in brush and just slowly make the trees look a little bit more fluffy, okay?
What? That's amazing.
Now, for our clouds, we're actually going to use a very large version of this brush, okay? So we're just going to scale up like this and just make them look
so
poofy
cool.
and fluffy and soft, right?
So soft. Like I could throw myself upon it. The most subtle lines and fluffy clouds. That's awesome. Dang. It looks so good.
I'm gonna merge these layers together here. And we wanna keep them all separate, guys, because
Okay.
we wanna
Makes
make
sense.
sure that we have the ability to create some parallax, okay?
Yeah. That makes sense.
So far, so good. To create a three-dimensional look to trees, what you can do is grab this darker color here and just punch some circles as if you were creating a
Watch carefully, guys. We're learning things here.
new layer of trees, okay, just like that, okay? And then what you do is you actually mask that layer you just created and pretend that these trees in the background are actually filling over. See that? It's sort of spilling over.
What?
You can even drop the opacity down to create some blends.
What?
Oh yeah. Sometimes you
That's
want this
so
harsh, clean
cool.
difference between the two. We can do some
That's awesome.
highlights using the same mentality, okay?
So it makes it look like this is the like billowing out foliage of the trees, and then there's like this dark and mysterious like inside of the forest that's being hinted at. That's really cool.
So I'm gonna grab this color here, and I'm just gonna punch in
The highlights, they look so pretty.
some highlights here.
That's
If they don't
awesome.
look good, don't worry. What we're gonna do
Oh, shut up. They look good already.
is again mask those out.
Am I the only one amazed here? These are such like simple tricks, and it already looks so good. Like, this is awesome.
To create a rounded look. I'm going to do a full opacity of the mask.
Okay.
There we go, and we can just punch. I'm going to drop the opacity down.
Nice.
One final thing to create some distinction between this layer and that layer is I'm just going to just add a very subtle, doesn't look subtle now, but just drop the opacity
I was gonna say, you say subtle, but that is not subtle.
down. Distinction between the two.
Oh, okay.
One more.
So he's creating an outline without making it just a really hard outline. That's I like that. That looks good.
So that looks great. We're going to apply the same principles to this
It looks real good.
tree line in the back.
I like the pleasant music he's got playing in the background.
Now,
too.
with clouds, you can make clouds look really, really cool with the same thought process as the trees.
So just adding some highlights and then adding that like kind of darkened, lowered opacity layer in the front as like kind of like a shadow in between. And then also giving a little bit of like a 3D aspect to it. That's nice. Very nice. Oh, dude. It already looks really good.
I feel like this layer needs a little bit more highlights.
Nice.
Let's go ahead and clean up our layers. So I'm just gonna merge all of the detailing. All right, so we're gonna get this color here, and we're gonna make it a lot more vibrant.
Okay.
And I'm gonna use my grass block-in brush here, and I'm going to start adding some highlights to this ridge here. I can't overstate how important it is to have a second monitor to just look at your illustration in a different context.
Yeah.
Okay.
I definitely agree with that. I mean, yeah, I already knew kind of that kind of aspect. Like you have to be able to look at your reference. You have to. If you have to like switch tabs constantly on one monitor or like minimize, maximize so you can see, it's just not, I don't know, it's not an effective way to work. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Are you able to function properly on one monitor, or do you think you need two? I feel like you definitely need to, especially for game development, because you're constantly going to be doing like two different things anyway. Even if you're just coding, you're going to be researching on the other monitor, like, oh shoot, this script, what am I trying to do here? I need to look up, exactly what see if somebody else has already done this, and so I don't have to reinvent the wheel or whatever. I think two monitors is necessary, but I'd love to hear what you guys think.
I'm just gonna try and mimic a very subtle highlight here. Okay. We do another layer with just some kisses of light. All right, so it looks like the sun is really hitting pretty hard here. And so I think we could get away with adding some detailed grass, okay?
Yeah.
Some vibrant detailed grass. So I'm gonna pick the yellow here, the yellowish green, and I'm gonna use this detail brush, this grass detail brush.
Grass detail.
And I'm just gonna add in some subtle grass details.
Nice. And that looks good. Wow.
Good. Okay, we could also add in some subtle highlights. There's a brush just for grass highlights, and we could do a vibrant yellowy white.
This is insane.
All right, the next layer up, let's go ahead and add some more detailing here.
It's crazy how fast this comes along. It's just like, okay, and I just do this, and this, and then we have a masterpiece.
Okay, I think we could do some flowers. Okay, so I have this flower brush here, and we're gonna just use some red. Okay,
Ooh,
orangey
yeah.
red,
Really bright colors like
just
that.
like that. Tiny little flowers. Just eyeballing it
That's
here.
so cool.
Nice. Okay. Add some drop shadow to it just to make it look like they're standing out just a little bit. But we also want there to be a nice little blend. So I'm going to drop the opacity down just like that. See?
Yeah. I was thinking
And
that. I was thinking there needed to be something to make it a little bit more subtle because they stand out too much from the composition as they were. But now the blend is pure. It's picturesque. It's beautiful.
Let's give it some dimension. Okay, let's come forward just a tad. Add a big one there.
There you go.
And here. Big one there. Okay.
They look good.
And then using our pencil tool, just a tiny little white dot in the middle of the flower. Just like that. Okay.
Just nice and subtle.
So let's add just an extra highlight. And we can do this by simply using the effects. So let's go to our layer effects here, add an inner shadow.
Okay.
It's not actually a shadow though, it's just gonna be this subtle overlay of white. We're gonna do one more, okay? In this case, it's just a very subtle rim, just like that, okay?
Whoa.
You can play with the angle and the opacity of it.
What?
And we're gonna click OK here. I'm gonna copy this layer style and I'm gonna paste it on every single layer.
Incredible.
Just adding a subtle highlight to every single layer, even the clouds,
It looks so good.
Our grass layer here.
Dang.
Okay, that one's a little intense. So I'm gonna drop that down. Good. You could even do it to this layer here. Okay. Some layers it doesn't look very good on, so we're not gonna do it on that layer. All right, so now we can just go ahead and add some pine trees. We have a pine tree brush here.
I'm blown away. I can feel my face. Gosh, I'm supposed to be reacting for you guys, and I'm just sitting here like frozen, like, what? Like dumbfounded. This is amazing.
And I'm just gonna...
I don't know if you guys can hear my daughter in the background. She's like copying me. Amazing.
Add some behind this hill here.
Amazing.
Right? And we're gonna add some coloring to the pine trees, right?
Ooh.
So let's go ahead and take this
good.
color here, and we're gonna use the same pine tree brush to add in some color.
Wow.
We drop that opacity down a little bit. And remember, the sun is coming from the right side here.
I didn't realize there was just a pine tree
So we're gonna add
brush.
just some very subtle details to the right side of the tree
So
to
cool.
mimic that sunlight. All right, we're gonna use this color here, and we're also gonna use our grass block-in brush. And we're gonna be very careful here, but we're gonna add just some subtle shadows.
The shadows of the tree. Oh my gosh, it looks amazing.
Being cast by these trees. Drop the opacity down
This is incredible. It looks amazing.
just a bit here. There we go. Same is true for this one. And now I've reached the point of, well, any illustration that I do for a video game, I just start to tweak, okay? Don't feel guilty once you get to the final point of your illustration and you feel like it's just not what you want, okay? And that's what happened in this illustration.
I'm just seeing magic happen. He's like, okay, it looks amazing. Now, let me just play around with it and make it look even better. Whoa.
It happens every time I'm doing an illustration. So here you can just see me trying out all these different things. I call this kind of like the Instagram filter moment, where you where you start adding filters and deleting stuff, adding fog, and then you'll see I'll delete the fog. I'm adding some Gaussian blur to the foreground to make it look a little bit more like Hollow Knight, and then I'm just tweaking the hue, the saturation of the layers, making it look a little bit more moody, a little bit more interesting.
Yeah. I definitely feel that. It went from like vibrant and pretty to like, whoa, this is kind of, it's a little dark. It's like, you know, there's a storm brewing. Like, it was a beautiful, pleasant pasture, but then, you know, this kind of like mood came over it. Oh yeah, this is cool.
The original color looked great, but it wasn't the style I think that most of my games have. You can also see I've added a foreground here, just using that same pine tree brush. And I'm just tweaking and changing all of these colors here. This process is really difficult to define for you and give you a tutorial. All I'll say is that it is a guess and check process of slowly adding and tweaking stuff.
It looks so good.
It's a mix of what we originally had with that original color palette, but a little bit more rainy. It looks kind of like maybe Scotland or Ireland. Very moody, but this is the end result. I can't emphasize enough how important that final session is of just making edits to the hue and saturation. And it's one of those things.
Okay, wasn't that incredible? Like, really, that was so incredible.